From a comprehensive risk perspective, any topic you choose is worthy of additional review. However, based on the rapidly expanding concerns for organizational and personal security, I'll focus on this important theme during this module. When considering security on the whole, what is hidden most from the risk management and allied professional is the degree to which security should be integrated within their risk management plans. Risk managers don't purposely subordinate security concerns. However, the issues surrounding security are sufficient to where it is easy to become overwhelmed in both the analysis and the planning processes. This is both a function of the complexity of security issues as well as the sheer number of concerns in today's working and global business environment. Think about it. Traditional concerns such as the theft of assets to those that may be much more destructive, as might be the case with workplace violence, global terrorism, and the economic threats posed by cybersecurity and cyber terror issues. Guidelines, standards, regulations, and laws have been promulgated based on many of these security concerns, demanding further focus and management effort be provided to each. World events, those subsequent to the terrorist attacks in New York City on September 11, 2001, as well as some before, have made the recognition and management of threats job number one for our government and many companies. No longer is terrorism an event that occurs in other parts of the globe. It happens where you and I live and where you and I work. Whether it's terrorism, workplace violence, or managing the company's security workforce, these issues must find their way to the person with risk management responsibilities and stay there, and resolutions found in the form of preventive actions, programs, training, and enhanced response capabilities. Simply put, every safety and health or risk management program should have a section dedicated to security concerns. What are some of the security concerns that should be recognized, should be made part of a company's risk management program, and should be controlled? Just a few thoughts include terrorism, whether it's considered foreign or domestic, and cyber terror must be included in that analysis as well. Travel security, workplace violence, and executive protection should be included. The issues of travel security, executive protection, and kidnap and ransom are being focused on like a laser beam by some organizations. I am certain with what is happening on the global, political, and business playing fields, you understand why that's the case. Protecting an organization from a multitude of security concerns, of course, is the right thing to do, both morally and socially. Still, many businesses seek to determine the cost benefits of implementing security measures prior to taking action. Some of us are motivated by the qualitative benefits of security management and related activities. We can make our case for action based on qualitative measures and incorporate program needs with nothing more. A qualitative measure might be as simple as starting a program, identifying threats, and determining overall organizational vulnerabilities. Each of these measures is sound, though they really form just the beginning of our efforts, and you'll be required to invest many more. We'll talk more about this in terms of what is actually required in just a few moments. However, for those that need or require quantitative measures, options do exist. ASIS, or the American Society of Industrial Security, for example, highlights quantitative measure possibilities in their publication, General Security Risk Assessment Guidelines. Their methods include forecasting individual loss events, calculating probability or frequency, developing a risk matrix and probability ratings, lost income, relative cost calculations, and many others. Becoming more finite on why security actions are beneficial through a quantitative analysis for management should not, I repeat, should not, however, slow the process for that which is determined feasible from a program development perspective and that which should be quickly implemented. Before I talk about the structure of a program, I want to spend a few moments reviewing some of the issues associated with globalization and other security concerns I just mentioned. Globalization and the ease of travel places many workers and executives right in the middle of several security concerns. Executive protection, kidnap and ransom, and travel security in general are issues that must be understood and managed with appropriate rigor. The U.S. Department of State regularly updates a website that provides travel warnings and security alerts for global regions, countries, and sometimes even specific airports. Such data should be reviewed before travel to any countries take place. I am certain quite a few countries provide similar information. It's easy to think of terrorism in foreign lands or against governments. However, terror can be elicited through a person's computer and directed specifically at them personally as opposed to an organization. Threats of physical violence, harming one's family, disclosure of secrets, or what is referred to as cyber stalking, can all occur through emails and websites. How to respond and manage threats that have been transmitted in cyberspace should ultimately become part of your overall program efforts. Developing a relationship with an organization's information technology department because of cyber threats is essential. Training employees on how to respond to threats or even interpret threats is becoming more critical as well. The outcomes of physical attacks and even homicides may have started off as a verbal or a cyber threat. Controlling them at the outset is the only way to ensure any degree of success in stopping threats from reaching fruition. Many of us work for organizations that create strong feelings and responses from any number of people, organizations, and even sometimes terrorist groups. Captive animal programs, even those designed to perpetuate an endangered species, frequently are attacked by their detractors, such as the ALF or the Animal Liberation Front. Religious organizations are attacked by those disagreeing with their beliefs and wishing to insert their own ideologies. Special interest terrorism should be a topic of discussion and planning for any organization that conducts operations raising the ire of a particular group, whether activists or rightists. This is particularly real for academic institutions. It can be successfully argued that all of us are involved in some activities that are the focus of groups that significantly disagree with them. Minimizing threats from known or potential terrorist action is not a luxury for many organizations any longer. It's becoming a mandate. Bruce Hoffman, in his book Inside Terrorism, highlights this last point several times. His chapter on religion and terrorism is excellent, and it ends with the following quote: "The pattern of religion-inspired terrorism over the past 2 years alone suggests that the potential for still more and even greater acts of violence cannot be prudently discounted." And that ends the quote. I would ask that particular focus be placed on the word prudently. It will be imprudent for organizations to ignore threats, known or developing. Just as importantly, organizations need to obtain and deploy metrics to recognize threats, again, those that have manifested as well as those that might exist in the future. There is a critical philosophy that hovers over the entire practice of security, whether asset or personal protection. That philosophy is that the cost of protection and controls will be less than that of the foreseeable loss. It is possible to inadequately plan as well as it is to overplan. The inclusion of security within the confines of risk management programs has obviously now become more essential than ever. Security concerns are no longer simply asset-driven. They include the safety and welfare of an organization's personnel, their families, and other constituents. These and other considerations must be included as efforts are begun to develop a program and integrate it within the overall risk management program. Two very important factors must be kept in mind. Number one, any plan that is developed must be tailored to an organization, recognizing its specific threats. And number two, by following the essence of my first point, programs that are borrowed from other companies or, for example, downloaded from the internet will likely not be sufficient. My cautionary note is that you and your organization develop your own plan. Borrowing format might be acceptable, but relying on someone else's content, certainly if wholesale, is altogether another issue. Let's take a look at the fundamental components of a security program as it might be found within an overall risk management plan. The first step is the creation of a management policy statement. In most cases, this step is the most important, and I focused here first, as I have found that organizations that are capable of framing such a statement have given their security programs significant thought. Publishing the statement, which serves to frame the parameters of a plan, is equally important. By doing so, everyone in an organization is playing from the same sheet of music, if you will. A policy statement, in part, might read as follows. We are committed to maintaining the security and well-being of our employees, visitors, and the surrounding community. Our security management program is but one aspect of our overall safety and health efforts. Together, these efforts span personnel, information, and asset security and include training and education activities to help ensure our program's success. Additionally, we will work diligently to comply with all applicable laws, regulations, and standards. Responsibility for this program has been vested with the Risk Management Department. Your cooperation with their efforts will help us all maintain a program that accomplishes all of its goals. We take specific actions toward identifying security-related threats, including workplace violence, and threats that may exist from domestic or foreign terrorism. You, our employees, can expand these efforts by reporting concerns and any security breaches immediately. Your ongoing cooperation, as well as participation with the security program's efforts, will be appreciated and again helps ensure its success. This concludes the policy statement. Okay, hopefully I've painted a clear picture for you. Your program must start at the top. This statement will be signed by a company official and further must be backed up with their involvement and consistently executed plan activities. But developing a policy statement is not the end all. Like other safety and risk management plans, administrative, tactical, training, education, and plan maintenance requirements exist. The fact that these components exist and they must relate to your organization specifically harkens back to what I said a few minutes ago. Your plan must be specific to your operations. Let's review the other critical elements that must become part of a successful security program. Without these elements, exposures to loss, such as theft of assets, kidnapping, or the most severe of terrorism events will remain on our horizon. First, a brief review of the essential administrative activities that must become part of your plan. If your plan's heart resides in the policy statement, then the starting point begins with the recognition and compliance with applicable laws, regulations, or adopted standards. Where these various regulations exist, recognition of them in your plan provides a critical underpinning. Other administrative elements that are important to consider include the need to define critical terms. Plans are almost always replete with acronyms that identify departments, government agencies, and the like. For example, what is an EOC? Will you have an EOC within your plan? Well, an EOC is important, and the acronym stands for Emergency Operations Center, the hub of leadership, decision-making, and communication. In addition, those responsibilities specific to management, supervision, and staff must be outlined. Their expectations within the plan must be crystal clear. You may already have programs that relate to security management, and if so, they become programs to include by reference, another administrative function. The tactical aspects of your plan must be comprehensive, yet easily deployable to receive adequate support. What are some of the tactical aspects you should consider? Threat and vulnerability assessments and their mitigation, the specific tasks of the security manager when an event manifests, and access and identification controls spell some of the most critical. In addition, a well-structured plan contemplates specific event response protocols, communication needs and processes, as well as the ever-essential section on mutual aid partners and the role that they will play when called upon to respond with you. Plan maintenance and plan exercise functions should receive their own section in your program. Changes in threats, program updates that occur post-event, and regulatory demands all spell the need to make sure your plan is current. In addition, the consistent application of case studies, tabletop exercises, small-scale and functional exercises must be part of a well-utilized plan. These two areas are often the most neglected, and as you can imagine, a plan that is not up to date or practiced is bound for failure. Lastly, and I know we are all sensitive to the importance of this plan consideration, training and education not only needs to be integrated into your plan, you as a risk manager must also be its champion. Training staff and management on their event-specific roles, how and when to report threats, and interaction with the media, for example, will become important considerations as you strengthen your security program capabilities. We've covered some very important topics today. However you define risk management, the need for focus, formality, and leadership will become increasingly necessary. No longer can we rely on a specific person to be available when an adverse event occurs, nor can we rely on insurance to wholly compensate us for losses that we may suffer. We have a responsibility to identify the real and the potential threats that may impair our organization's ability to operate. More importantly, we must do so to care for our critical constituents. I hope today that by reviewing risk management and then using security programs as one functional example, that you've seen how essential your role is and the value of planning. Without risk management sensitivity, we will allow hazards that we have faced for years to be perpetuated. A basic tenet of risk management is to mitigate threats that we do anticipate and those we identify. A major part of mitigation is the deployment of plans that are more than adequate. It's a challenge to recognize threats and face them. It's equally challenging to allocate the resources to develop plans that work. I know that you're up for the challenges, and you will be successful in your efforts. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be part of an ITC program once again.